Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. We are in part 2 of our 5-part series on unity in worship, and today we're going to look at the first angel's message in Revelation 14. So let's begin with a word of prayer. That Jesus, you will speak to us through your word. We ask this in your name to our Father. Amen. The first angel's message of Revelation chapter 14, where in vision the revelator sees 3 angels and they each give a specific message. That first message was given in verses 6 and 7. And what the first angel illustrates is that it illustrates how where we start is what will dictate our way. That first angel's message is echoed in some way and to some degree by the other 2. So you wouldn't have the second and the third angel's message without the point or without the grounding of the first. So let's look at it. It says, I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel. This first angel preaches the gospel. So every other angel is an echo of that gospel. Having this gospel to preach to them that dwell on the earth, to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, this is not a secret, it's to be known and understood, fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. So much of our worship is fragmented and scattered and weak because we're not starting here. We come with that assumption because we happen to be in a church, or we come to that assumption because everyone's in the place that we agreed to meet. But this first angel makes it very apparent that in order for us to have the trajectory that we have in our journey, it requires to having the right starting point. And that's to fear God. That's to give glory to him. And the rationale is because the hour of his judgment is come, not just in him judging humanity, but in he himself being judged. By being falsely accused by Lucifer that his law was unjust and unfair. That's what he argued in heaven. It's what he is contending even now. And we are the litmus case. We are evidences. Evidence A, evidence B. We are pieces of evidence as to whether or not his argument or his lie is true, or whether or not God is indeed just. God is indeed loving. God is indeed gracious. So if we come from a bad starting point, that's why we'll end up where we are today, where worship becomes argumentative, where worship becomes divisive, where we have literally, we don't live in a segregated society. But it's interesting that if you were really honest, we'll find that the church is more segmented and segregated than society is. Because in society, we have legislated unity. We have legislated integration. But church is the function of the conscience of men and of the pulse of the human heart. And the fact that we are still here in our hearts in church, it lets us know this is truly who we are. Have we really been born again? That's the question that Israel had to answer. And it's the question that Israel had to constantly come to grips with, and it's the one that we need to recognize now. Even here in Deuteronomy 10, verse 12. Now, Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee? But to fear the Lord thy God, and to walk in his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Israel had to remember this. That's why when they forgot it, what happened? It always led to idolatry. It always led to Baal worship. It always led to the gods of the Midianites. It led to the gods of the Canaanites. It led them away from Jesus and from God their Father who delivered them. Friends, it happened then. Don't think it's not happening now. That's why we're reminded in Ephesians 3, verse 16, that he would grant you, that means you and me, according to the riches of his glory, to be strengthened with might by his Spirit in the inner man, that Christ may dwell in your hearts by faith. How is this practically seen? That ye being rooted and grounded in love. So to answer that question, what does it mean that Christ will dwell in our hearts by faith? It means when we're rooted and grounded in love. When we're rooted and grounded in love, that means that Christ is dwelling in our hearts by faith. We have to ask ourselves, Has tradition replaced conviction? Has what makes us comfortable replaced what God has called us to? These are the issues that will become nothing when we heed the first angel's message, when we fear God and give glory to him. Don't wait for it to be mandated. Don't wait for it to be legislated. This is the decision that you make every morning when you wake up. People say, well, the church needs to do this. Well, the policy needs to say this, or the conference should do that. Friends, the change does not start in the conference. The change starts in your car. It starts in your bedroom. It starts in your heart. What do you do? That is the question. And what we do will be what this church will ultimately become.